If you look down there, that is one section that we're going to thin out now, and what you've got is a 40-acre lake, very pretty in the summer, not too bad this time of the year really, but there's a lot of issues with timber down here at the moment. If you just look up the rows here, you can see that this is just completely a muddle, and there are some nice trees in amongst it, mostly oaks, hornbeams, the odd lime, some cherries, but basically all the rubbish has got to come out of here. And if I swing round, there's a cabin, pretty little cabin there, and then there's the lake. And there are issues with it at the moment because it was created about 22 years ago, and you probably can't see, but the level of the water has come up dramatically or gone down dramatically because of leaf material from here and the surrounding woodland. If you look up that way, there's woodland all the way round, so all this has got to be sorted out sooner or later. But what we're trying to do is, by opening up this side with the prevailing wind from behind me, then we'll start to get movement on the water, and therefore, and there's some geese going over, Canadas, and more coming in front there. But if you get movement in the water, then if you look down here, you can actually see the leaf material in the water. And so ultimately it'll probably have to be dredged, this. But in the meantime, if we thin the woods out, then from the prevailing wind side, then in theory there ought to be more air getting to the water and more movement, and they're obviously then just starting to mix up the silt that's there and breaking it down a little bit. But as you can see, this is quite a project. We'll come back to that in a second. Here's the little cabin looking up the lake. You can see it's quite substantial. Up at that far end there's a dam, and that dam was created in kind of association with the Environment Agency. You might just be able to make it out if I go there. You can see there's an island in the distance, and then beyond there there's a grass bank, which is the dam, and the water comes in from the other end, which is fairly heavily silted up at the moment. Anyway, we'll just take a quick tour down through the wood, because this is not just for your interest, but it's also for mine, because I want to see how this wood turns out once it's been thinned out. But as you can see, I mean, that's not a bad ash tree there, that's a very poor oak tree there, that's a very nice oak tree there, that's a cherry just beyond, and you've got a massive crowding issues here. So probably 2 in 3 of these trees have got to come out. I mean, that lime over there, this one with 3 stems, I might remove the 2 outer stems and leave it as a single stemmer. But on the other hand, there's a very nice oak potentially here, which is being crowded out, not getting a chance to grow. There's a field maple just beyond it that would definitely have a chance of being quite a nice tree. And then we've got an oak there and an oak there. And the oaks have been spaced out fairly evenly. I think it's, excuse me, 4 in every 15, 20 yards or something. So you can see oak, oak, field maple, oak, rather large cherry, just trim that up eventually when we get here. But there's also 1 or 2 quite substantial trees here that could do with, I mean, for example, this cherry here is a split stemmer, if you look at it. Now, what I'd be inclined to do is, when I get here, I might get rid of this right-hand stem and leave it as a single stem tree. Same possibly applies to that ash there, but actually usually when ash is split that low, it means they're absolute garbage, so get them out. Same with that one beyond. But this is basically the project we're on for the next few weeks, is thinning this out, I mean, that hornbeam there is, well, it's pretty substantial, but it's interfering with the cherry there. There's a dead oak beyond it, but that probably will bring down to one stem. But a lot of this stuff will come out. I mean, like this field maple, horrible little tree. Give that a chance, give this oak a chance. And as you can see, this section that we're doing will then open up to the other end of the lake where the inlet of the stream is. But at the moment the stream is getting silted up as well, so there's some fairly substantial cash going to have to be spent, not just on thinning these woods out, but more importantly, ultimately, for the lake to be able to continue to hold the sort of stocks of fish that it's holding, and it's holding some pretty massive carp. I gather that there are carp of over 35 pounds here already after only 20 years, but I presume some of them were put in and they were reasonable sized anyway. There's some mallard just on the water in front of me, and some more beyond it. It's quite a little haven for wildlife, this spot. But as you can see, also they've got issues on the edge here. Here's a fishing point, and there's no way that you can cast that way because there's willows and things in the way. And obviously they're going to have to be cut back, but on this occasion that's not my department. So as you can see, stunning little spot, and project one is this section that we've now pretty much worked through to, and then beyond there is where the inlet is, and that's the project for the summer when it's a bit dry, because that is an absolute muddle down there at the moment. It is so wet. You couldn't get any sort of machine in there without making a complete muddle. So we start here tomorrow and see how we get on, and hope to, if not complete this over the next 6-8 weeks, at least have opened it up into a more sustainable world, because what you can see is there is nothing growing on the ground here at all. There is not a sign of anything growing on the ground, and that is because of the overcrowding. The leaf canopy is so extensive that it's dark underneath here and nothing's getting through. Once this is thinned out, within a year you'll see a mixture of bramble cover, but also some fairly exciting sort of wildflowers like orchids. Bluebells, I suspect, if they want them, they're going to have to plant them, because they are not naturally occurring in somewhere like this, which was created from arable land into a piece of woodland to surround a lake. But you will get a nice substantial number of wild plants coming through here. But as you can see, lovely spot to work over the next few weeks. The only trouble is, as I say, the weather's been a shocker for the last week. Middle week of January, absolutely horrible. But in here, one tends not to work on days, out here when it's absolutely tipping it down, simply because A, it's dangerous, and B, all you do is just make a mess. But I mean, you can probably see in front of me the amount of lying water just near the lake, which is just runoff from the field above from yesterday's 7 or 8 mils or whatever there was, and the night before was 5 mils prior to that. But it's a lovely environment to work in when the weather's clement like this.